Hello, welcome. I am so excited today to have one of my clients, Allison Kinnear, here to talk about our work together. And so, Allison Kinnear, she's truly an amazing life coach. And I'm going to let her introduce herself right now. So, Allison, tell us a little bit about your business.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Joanne. My name is Allison Kinnear. I am an empowerment coach and speaker. I mostly talk to people about overcoming imposter syndrome, managing stress, having difficult conversations. So I speak to groups about that, and I also work one-on-one with people who need support in that way in their personal and professional lives.
Just from working together, I feel like I have learned some strategies and skills from you because we were working on your mini course together. And I love
Yes.
and I love the analogies and the names you come up with. I feel like it's so creative, it's so fun. You add a bit of humor in there too to topics that can feel like very heavy and um it can be easily overlooked. So I love how you bring that in.
Thank you.
So I just love that. So I'm so excited to have you here. So first, tell our listeners, how long have you been a client for?
Oh, you would think I would know this information.
I know
Joanne, how
that's
long have I
okay.
been a
I have
client
to
for?
also do some math too. I believe it was
Almost a year? Is that?
March. It was in the spring.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That sounds about right. I probably, yeah, that sounds about right. And, you know, to go to what you said about humor, it's like, I think as a mom and as a business owner or as anybody who works, we need humor because life can be hard. And so that's why I don't remember things when things started. So, but I know it's been a significant chunk of time and it's been wonderful. So,
Yeah, thank you. And I do have to say, yes, as parents, I do feel like we are in a different like time warp of sorts. So I absolutely understand what you mean with by that. And Allison and I definitely connected over being moms and parents and running a business and all the things. Like it's a lot. And it was really awesome to be a connect in that way
yes,
too. So
yes.
okay, so tell the listeners what it is that we did together. I know we did quite a bit, but what it is that we did.
Yeah. So, well, there's a couple of things. One is for a good solid time, I was writing a weekly newsletter to my people. So you helped me work on copy with that, but kind of indirectly, because what we were really doing was building my mini course. And what that the vision for that is to have or was to have a course that people could self-pace themselves through. I had a whole stockpile of like 150 videos that nobody really saw. And so I wanted those to be of service to people, but I also needed to learn how to market that. And marketing and me are not really friends. I tend to want to puke in my mouth a little bit every time I am involved in a marketing seminar. But I do love writing and I do love offering people things of value. And so that's one of the things that I really appreciated about working with you was that marketing didn't feel like an awful manipulative task. It felt like I was offering something of value, but also making sure that my message was clear and concise and also motivating for folks. And so uh, and really like you helped me develop that course, like the content and I mean you were like a sounding partner for me with that. Like I was kind of deciding the flow and also
Mhm.
spot checking that a little bit with you to go does that sound right? And then you were helping me hone into like what exactly is happening. You asked me a ton of really amazing questions, things that I hadn't really thought of before that helped it be more impactful.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely had the content there, like you said. Like you had the videos, you had your program where you had all your video. It was in modules, and it is really an
Mhm.
amazing. Like you sent me your videos and I listened to them like these are really good. But there is a bit of like copywriting within that, like the video piece that
Yes,
we went through is like, okay, how do we now they how do we get them to watch the video? I mean, they're in already, but even then in there, how do we get them to watch the video, take the action, implement, okay, now watch the next video. So we did do quite a bit of the copy feedback in
absolutely.
that, the curriculum as well. That
Correct. Yeah, because it to me, one of the big concerns is like, great, you can sign up for a course, but who knows if you're going to take it, and how do you really keep people motivated after they've made that purchase? And I remember going through like you kind of having the viewer, the participant experience and going, wait, I don't even know where to click. Like we need a little, you need to add something here that says click this next, and
yeah,
and ways to kind of stay hooked and ways to stay motivated. And also, you recognized my humor right away, which was helpful for me to be able to write and create in a way that fit me and my style. I wasn't trying to put my style into somebody else's formula. You were
yeah,
rather bringing the formula to me that I could then adapt and make it my own, which feels really different than what I've ever done before.
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we're
Mhm.
gonna go back a little bit because I'm remembering when we had first connected together,
Yes.
you were looking for a welcome nurture email
Oh
sequence.
my gosh, that's right. Mhm. Mhm.
And we had a call and you were thinking like, I don't have, you said you've been writing to consistently to
Yeah.
your email community weekly for
Yeah.
how many years?
Oh, I had been either creating a video or writing
Mhm.
weekly for like 7 years.
7 years. And then you're finally thinking, I need a welcome nurture email sequence. And we kind of dug into that. And I said,
That's right.
I actually think we don't need to start. I mean, I love welcome nurture sequence is my favorite. And I love the sequence, but I'm like, I don't think you need to start with a welcome nurture sequence.
Yeah, I already had a lot of people on my list, so yeah.
Yeah, it was really about being able to nurture who you already had in your email community to then really see the value in what you're providing with. I think at the time you thought maybe to the group program, and then
Yeah.
you had another pivot into, okay, I really want to get into this, take the group program,
Yeah.
make it into the mini courses. And so
Yes.
that's something I feel like a lot of my like that's something normal that happens to many of my clients as we're working together. Things
Mhm.
are evolving, things are changing, and you're just seeing like, okay, where am I, like figuring out the strategy and where is it I really want to go. And that's what the email sequences are for, is really just deciding like, okay, what avenue am I going to put my energy into?
Yes.
And I think that was a big piece of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I still feel like I got that welcome series because when it came to introducing, I know it's not exactly the same, but like when it came to introducing the mini course to folks, it was a little bit of I don't know if from your perspective if it was a similar process, but the things that I was having to think about is like, how do I meet my client where they are now, and how do I develop like a rapport and a relationship and help see what it is that they want and speak to them, and still bring lots of value and also lead them towards continuing to engage. So yeah.
Yeah, because that was something you had also mentioned was you were writing consistently, you do a lot of educating. I mean, we're both former educators. That was another connection piece for us.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
pieces, but that was a piece of it. You love the educating and your analogies are amazing. I absolutely love your analogies that you use, which is a great piece of the storytelling and for the copywriting too. And
Yeah.
you're saying like, I have a lot of lurkers, you could say, or they
Yes.
just weren't really engaged in a way. And so that's something
Mhm.
we really worked on together. So can you talk a little bit about like just a little bit about what were the benefits of working with me and uh,
Yes.
results.
Okay, hold on, because I pulled it up because I wanted to see. But like, so to give an example, I have just over 600 people on my email list, and I pretty consistently have between like a 30 to 50% open rate, depending on what's being put out there. I think my open rate first of all, my open rate got higher like since working with you. And what was also interesting was to see the click rates, what happened with the clicking, because before working with you, even though I had been sending these newsletters out pretty consistently for probably 2 years for the newsletter,
Mhm.
like only newsletter, not video. And my clicks were always like, if I got 11 clicks out of 300 people, let's say, who opened it, if I got 11 clicks, that was pretty good because I was in the double digits. Usually it was like 6, 7, and I would try to put stuff in there for people to click. It wasn't strictly educational. It would be like, oh, check out this, or oh, come, but for whatever reason that wasn't happening. And then you and I workshopped on the news, like one of those newsletters, and it jumped to 44 original clicks, and then 71, and then 66. So like I not only was in the double digits, but like I was in the like way double digits. And so that to me, yeah, that was the value, is like there was just a lot more engagement, a lot more traffic.
Yeah, I remember. I specifically remember that moment because we were working together in a session, and then you said, "Oh, I should just look at this email that I just sent this week. I haven't looked at it." And you're looking at I can't see your screen. You didn't share it, but I could just see your face, and your jaw just drops, and you're just staring, and you're not saying anything, and I'm like sitting on the edge of my seat like, what is she seeing right now? Like, is it good, is it bad? I don't know, I can't tell from the expression. And that's when you
Y-
realize, like, I got 40 44, so it was 66.
Yeah, that was the 44 one. That was the jump from like 7 to 44. I mean, it was, and I never really, y- you know, the analytics side of it, I kind of didn't know. I would check it, but I also didn't really know what to do with that information. I didn't really know. Yeah, like I couldn't figure out the formula to make those numbers move. And
Mhm.
so I feel like working with you definitely helped me have a better understanding of that and be able to, I wasn't having to overhaul my writing. I needed to just tweak my writing, just little bit here, a little bit there. And you were able to point me towards tools and point me towards things to think about as I was writing that copy. And so that felt really good to me, that I could still be my creative self and want to do create what I was creating. And I just needed to like make some tweaks and adjustments, like turn this dial this way and turn that dial that way, and turn this up a little bit and turn that down a little bit. It wasn't like, okay, we need to like reset the whole thing. Just
Mhm.
those little adjustments made big impacts. And I
Yeah.
think for my clients, it was all subconscious. I don't think they were aware. They don't know who's clicking on what, right? Like I'm just offering the same amount of things to click on, but
Yeah.
they were definitely more active,
Oh,
which was
absolutely.
nice.
I love how you mentioned that. That is, I feel like you had put your arms up and you were like, copywriting where?
Yes, yeah, 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 definitely, definitely.
And yeah, it's not a huge overhaul. It is really like turning the dial, like you're just tweaking. And that's what we're really doing together with like the copy feedback that I provide is
Yes.
I'm I'm looking at the writing. I'm going, okay, tweak this here, do that here. Okay, now you, and then explaining exactly why it is. Maybe
Yes.
speak a little bit on that piece of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things I appreciate about working with you is that it was sometimes I didn't like do my homework, right? And I would be like, I am coming into this with shame and I'm sorry I didn't do, I said I was gonna, I did part of it, but I didn't do all of it or whatever the thing was. And you were always just so supportive and encouraging and meeting me where I was at and coaxing me out and helping me, like sometimes they were just working meetings where we were like, okay, you didn't have time this week, like let's workshop this now. And the feedback you gave me was still in that supportive tone. You'd be like, oh, I really love how you did this, or oh, I'm noticing a theme of your dog. You mentioned your dog a lot. Like this could be, something to notice about you or your sense of humor or whatever. You were like noticing the threads in a very supportive and encouraging way, but also it shows that you're a teacher, right?
Mhm.
Like because you have that warmth and support with also the clear guidance. Like this is what, like, think about doing this because this will be a little more, people will hear this better. They'll hear this more clearly if you phrase it in this way. Or I'm wondering if this could be two sentences because then they could really like land on this and then before moving on to that. Or maybe this needs to come after. Like all of those little supports, they were clear. It was, you knew exactly why those changes needed to be made. And you
Mhm.
were also like very encouraging of me throughout the process. So all good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yes, it is not. I'm not the teacher with the red pen, just like slashing
No, no, no.
everything and like get rid of this. No, stop doing like that. I absolutely like to start with like the strengths. I'm very strength based. That was me as a teacher too. Is I'm absolutely going to point out the things that I'm seeing that are good. There's always something to point
Yeah,
out that is a
yeah,
strength. And I'm saying like, ooh, and I also explain why that's a strength. Like, ooh, I like the way you said this because in the lens of like copywriting and how to get
correct.
someone to read the first line, then the second, then the third, then all the way to the end and have them start taking that action and like getting more engagement, which is what we were seeing and we were absolutely celebrating. So
Yes,
um
definitely.
oh,
And I just want to say, like, you led with the strengths, but it never felt like you were blowing smoke up my rear end. You know what I mean? Like it was all very, it was all very genuine. It wasn't like a put on thing. It was genuine enthusiasm. It helped me identify my strengths, and then I think you were able to take those strengths and go, let's see if we can leverage that.
mhm.
Right? Like, oh, you're really good at metaphor. Let's see if we can add some metaphor to the copyright to help, you know, propel further action. Or oh, you mentioned this part is really funny, or this part is really interesting. Like, I wonder how that could be used in this way. So I felt like you weren't just identifying the strengths and leaving it there and then making your little constructive feedback sandwich or whatever BS. It was like, no, 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 I'm really going to acknowledge these strengths. I see the goal that we're trying to get to. I'm going to give you a couple of skills to get to that goal. And I'm going to take those strengths and like help you like leverage that to get to where we want to go.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I
Mhm.
hadn't thought of it that way before, but yeah, it is like finding those themes and then saying like, okay, what are we? I see these strengths. Let's use them. And I do that a lot with clients because I do see their strengths in different ways, and a lot of them come thinking like, oh, I have to do it this way.
Yeah,
this is what I see other people doing, so I this is what I have to do. But
right.
it's not like that.
No,
Like
no, no, no.
I want you to be who you are and write from your heart and write
Yeah.
in a way that works for you, but also use like a lot of my clients have speaking strengths. I'm like, we can absolutely put that into your email marketing and have the video or the audio if that's your super strength. Like, let's put it
Yeah,
in. They're like, really?
totally.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, let's repurpose some of
Connected.
this. I think that's another thing too that I didn't expect was like the ability to work smarter, not harder, like, okay, let's repurpose some of this stuff and like we just adjust it so it comes out in, in this way here, and then it might sound this way there, and that repetition is good for people. And yeah, that
Yeah.
was it's good stuff.
So I'm curious to know, was there anything when we first started working together, 6 to 12 months, because we are in more, whatever that was.
At some point, yes, in time.
Was there something just that clicked right away when we first started working together?
So I am I, it's taken me a long, long time to be able to say this about myself, but I am somebody who can be pretty strong, who can be like, I have a lot to say, I have a lot to process. I think I can connect the dots pretty quick. And sometimes when I've hired people to help me, they have like almost deferred to me, like like they uh they've been like, oh wow, I hadn't, like, where I feel like I'm coaching myself,
Mm,
because the coach skill set wasn't where I needed it to be. And with you, what clicked for me is like, you are very sweet, you are very kind, you are very smiley, but you
mhm,
are very strong, and you were able to hold me in a way that I didn't feel like I had to hold me to,
mm,
if
mm.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you were like, you knew where we were going.
Mhm.
You were able to hitch arms with me and be like, we're following this yellow brick road, and you may get scared along the way, which I did. You may not think you have the skills for it, which I did, but you were able to lock arms with me and be like, here we go. And I didn't feel like I had to lead myself through that.
Yeah.
And so that strength to me, like for you to have that container for me to be able to be as big as I needed to be, but you were able to like refocus it, was really helpful for me. And I've developed a lot of skills along the way, and a lot of impact, right? I was able to take my goals that I've been having for a long time and create them into reality. And I feel like I've now got like a roadmap to be able to do that. Um, so
Yeah, I
yeah,
love being able to hear that because I do work with a lot of coaches, and sometimes as a copy coach, I'm like a hybrid of coaching and teaching and consulting, but sometimes I get it into myself like I'm coaching coaches. No, but it really has been really awesome to see, like working with coaches, like you all know, like okay, there's gonna be some mindset work involved. I'm
yeah,
gonna do there's gonna be some inner work here. I need to address what's coming up. Like that awareness to me is amazing. And then knowing that like coaches need coaches too, to be able to
yes.
bring out what it is, and help you move forward. So on that note, I'd love for you to tell us like one first small win that you achieved. And I know it feels like a really long time ago we started.
Oh, okay. Wait, I just want to say one more thing about what we just talked about, if that's
Mhm.
okay.
Yes.
Because an analogy came to mind. So I used to do ballroom dancing, and sometimes when you're a really strong partner as a woman, I would be the follow, right? And sometimes if you got a partner that wasn't a strong lead, then you got to watch yourself, because the follow will start leading themselves. And that is always problematic and not helpful. And that's what I have felt in many coaching situations. And what I felt with you is you were a strong lead. And when you were a strong lead, I got to be a strong follow. And that is unique.
Mm,
That is more unique than maybe, or other people may assume. But
yeah.
to be a coach of coaches, you got to be a strong lead. And I felt like you were a strong, respectful, loving, caring lead. So
Mm,
I just wanted to say that.
thank you.
So what did I learn? I don't know what my big small wins were. I mean, really just filling out the questionnaire that you gave me in the beginning and be like that alone was a win to because you were asking me questions nobody had asked me before. I had been running my own business for over 7 years. I had taken so many trainings. I have worked with so many coaches, and the questions you were asking me, some of them were repetitive. I have definitely answered them before, but there were quite a few that were like, oh, I've never thought about that. Oh, I've never thought about that. Huh. I've done work very similar to this, but the questions you were asking, I felt like just got to the root or the heart of um of some very important things that other trainings hadn't quite touched. So I would say that was a big win when I was like, oh, this is different. Like this is different in a good way, you know?
Yeah.
And that helped me to be able to articulate it, to think about those things, and to, it's just like it became in the ethers, right? Like I began to shift the way I was thinking about my business as a result.
Yeah. But just to give a little context in terms of the questionnaire, that would be the brand the brand messaging. There's a lot of different questionnaires, and I'm also trying to think back to which there were a few different ones, but
Ye-
there's a brand
Yeah,
message questionnaire or the email sequence. All the different email sequences also have questionnaires that really help you start to reflect and think about and connect the dots.
yes. I'm trying to pull them up here, but like, yeah, all of the questionnaire. I mean, like every single questionnaire that you gave me was like, oh, this is interesting. I hadn't thought about this before. They all had a little bit of that in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because
just
I know
that,
you
I'm
had
like,
mentioned the like you're like, I've done a lot of the ideal client avatar stuff. I have my ideal
correct.
client descriptions. I have all that, but having some questions around that really helped you to then, and that work is really important because that is how
Oh,
then
yeah,
we can tweak the copywriting and tweak it to attract who you want it to attract, but also get that engagement that you're looking for.
correct. And that was the thing that, like I'm just looking at like blueprint. I mean, all of these, there's usually some kind of question in there that is like, oh, I've done all those avatar work, but I haven't thought and I can't, I'm sorry, I don't have them here in front of me and I don't want to be too distracted from it, but you know, you just help me think about like my clients' motivations in a different way, and how I could speak to them and connect with them in a way that is different than what I've done before. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and we did it a bit with the bank personality codes too, which also
Yeah.
really helped, I think, to
Okay.
communicate. Uh,
So the bank personality, because you were really like bank personality. And what about the bank personality? And I was like, why are we doing this? Like, this makes no sense. They're like, why do I need to do this? But then, um, in time, my stubbornness, wore out a bit, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm now getting like, if I have people who are like, show me the data, and
mhm,
that's an important feature of many of my clients, which is not the case for me. But if that were the case,
mhm,
then data is going to have to be something I lead with.
mhm.
And if they are someone who, and we're going to try to hit all of those levels. So I then understood it a little bit more and be like, oh wait, some people want to, they're gonna, my people are really motivated by um connecting personally, so they're going to want to hear those stories, right? Like, so it was things like that that really helped me go, because I'm like, I don't know, I just tell stories. That's what I do. I tell stories. And it's like, yeah, but your clients need that because they hear that. But now we got to look at what's underneath that too, because they may want the story, but they also want the research, or they also want like to get things done. And
Yeah, they
you
want
got to speak
it.
to not just the story, which is what I was doing, but like speak to you can
I
articulate
think
it better
this
than I can.
systems and the processes was a big one
That's
for
what it
your
was.
clients. Yeah, they definitely wanted to see the how and the behind the scenes. What does it look like to be on a call with you? What does it look like to work with you? What, like all those things. They that makes them feel safe, and that's going to help them take that action with you. And I do remember like the storytelling. You do a lot of the storytelling, the analogies, and we added in more of the personal storytelling because
Yes,
again, like they're looking for that relationship and that connection specifically for who you wanted to attract. It's going to be different
that's right.
for different clients for who they want to attract, obviously. So for you, and those are all things that like we're putting together to create like more engagement. And that it was really awesome to see to be able to see that. And I think that is like, tell me if this is true, like one of the big wins that you achieved while working together was that engagement piece. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say definitely, definitely. And I think it helped to be able to see, just like you were saying, that like, yeah, they want stories, but they also want stories about me. They kind of want to know, who am I, to know if that's somebody who they want to work with. And so some of the stories I could get even a little bit more personal. Like, I don't have to share my whole life, but I could, I could add a little extra detail here around, you know, um, the hike I went on as a teenager, or the experience with my dog, things like that. And then that systems piece, I really recognizing that, yeah, I've got a lot of people who are like, I don't have a lot of time in my life. I don't have a lot of free time. I need to know you're not going to waste my time. You're going to be a strong lead, right? Like they're hiring me because they are strong leads in their life, and they want to be a strong follow. They don't want to have to lead again. And so they want to make sure that I'm going to be a strong lead. And so I need to be able to speak to that. And I think when I started talking in both of those, like pulling on both of those levers instead of the one, that's when the engagement went up.
Yeah,
Because I was doing the storytelling, but I wasn't really speaking to that systematic, like, I'm a strong lead and here's where I'm going to lead you toward.
yeah,
Once I started doing that as well as the storytelling, that's when the magic really started hitting. But
yeah.
that's because that's what's important to the vast amount of people who, are on my newsletter list and stuff like
Yeah.
that and follow my work.
That's why they're coming to you. And I do remember seeing that like the spike in your email service provider with the graph, and it just went
Yeah.
like straight up.
Yeah. The bar graph went from, like, the hint of yellow to, like, oh, that is a bar graph. Like, there's,
Yeah. And it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
even
yeah.
just one email. It was like multiple emails after
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But
It was multiple.
like the click rates just stayed higher because your message
Totally.
resonating, and they it was like a magnet. They were like, yes, okay. I'm
That's right.
like the engagement was definitely there. And it
Yeah.
really didn't take too long. I remember it was about a month in. We
Yeah. It
spent about
wasn't too long.
4 weeks together, and we were able to start like honing that
Yep.
uh, the copywriting and the storytelling to be able to get to that point. So
That's
I
right.
I love, thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Yeah, and that
So
was pretty. I'm like, I just pulled up the one from May 30th. So I think we started working together, like you said, in April. And yeah,
that was in
oh, I
May.
do
Okay.
apologize. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember it
it
being
was quick.
about 4 weeks
Yep.
to be able to see those results coming in.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
okay, so we're almost at the end here, but I have a few more
Yep.
questions.
Yep.
So, if you can imagine, we're shooting a late night infomercial, okay? It's not about the next newest cooking device, crock pot, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But what are your biggest like before and after claims we could make
Uh,
together?
I mean, I'm not one for concise right away. So I'll just spitball here a little bit. But before, I just wrote to write, and I tried to create engagement, but I really didn't know what I was doing. Afterwards, I have a more thorough understanding not only of the people I'm trying to reach, but what I'm trying to point them toward and how I can do that. Like I have the skills to be able to do that. And if I don't have the skills, I have you as a resource to be able to help me do that. So like I don't think I will ever think of my writing the same way again. You know, you really helped me shift fundamentally a lot of the ways that I think about writing. And if I'm if I'm trying to tell a story, how I can make it even more interesting, how I can make the hook a little more interesting, how if I'm trying to motivate them towards action, how I can make that more motivating. Um, and and how I can really honor the audience through that process.
Yeah.
And that depth of knowledge and experience now is invaluable.
Yeah. And I know you've done other trainings, you've gotten coaching before, and I do remember you saying like this is different than anything
Yeah.
that I've done before. And it is about what you said, like honoring who you're talking to and talking with, because there's no ick, no manipulation. This is really heart-centered,
Yeah.
heart-led, and
Mhm.
still speaking from your heart. Like you're not having to change the way you're talking. You're able to speak more from your inner voice and letting that make it clear for the people you're talking to. And then that copywriting piece of, okay, now how do we get people motivated to take
Yeah.
that action? So
Well, and this is the thing that I really appreciate because I paid a ton of money and went through a program and it was helpful in a lot of ways, but there was something about like it all looked good and my experience being a participant was good, but something smelled off, right?
mm,
Like
mm,
something was, and I knew that all throughout. It was just like something's off here. But when
mm,
I look at it, even when I look at it closely, it still seems totally fine, totally heart-centered, totally respectful. But there is this rotten smell to it that I
mm,
can't quite place. And that there was that ick factor
mm,
because and then once I stepped out of that program and I was in it for a long time, once I stepped out of it, I was like, oh wait, no, this is manipulation, this
mm,
is scarcity, this is like that's why it smelled off to me.
mm,
And all of the books or resources I had read, they all kind of had that whiff, that
mm.
something's rotting in the back of your fridge aroma.
Oh,
and
I know
yet
that smell.
everything and yet everything looks fine. You can't
Yeah,
quite figure out
yeah,
the source of it, right? And
yeah.
so that is the thing that I appreciated the most is that when it did come, that's what I was saying at the beginning, like when it came to marketing, it was so like up top and respectful. Like even when I was like, okay, now I'm in my sales sequence, right? My goal is to drive up sales as much as possible. When I was in that, you even had ways to make it feel more respectful. Like, hey, if you want to stay on my email list, great. Stay here. If you want to opt out of the sales stuff, click here, right? Like to me, that was so important to respect my readers
Mm.
that I didn't want to off put, my 300 people who were like, oh crap, now Allie's in a program and she's gonna, be vacuum salesing on my door. And it never felt that way. Like the emails I created for that sales sequence were like, there's no ick factor here for me.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
was
didn't feel
wondering.
like I had to compromise my values or compromise my integrity or compromise my readers. I was able to still like stay on the sales message, but also be deeply respectful and also provide something of value. And that to me is like, holy crap, I didn't even know that was a possibility. So
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people, either they lean one or the other. They push so hard in the sales, but it just doesn't feel good, or they just like, I'm just gonna avoid that because I know it doesn't feel good. I'm just not even gonna go there. I was
That's
wondering if you were talking about the the odor in the back of the fridge, if it had to do with like whatever was off had to do with um basically creating like guilt or shame um
yes.
in a way that seems like it's heart center, but actually is still, and that is something that I will hone in so fast on. And it happens with my clients unintentionally too,
Yeah.
because it's just that's just kind of like what we see out there, and that's just subconsciously like you're just writing that way, and those are things that I just point out in a way that's not like I'm not trying to shame you for bringing shame. It's just it's unintentional. I know a lot of my clients are heart-centered, and helping them to copyright and storytell in a way that doesn't, it's not about, we're not going to create any shame or guilt. And I know, you're not meaning to do that, but that's how your words are coming across, and
Yeah.
how to make it empowering and hope filled and encouraging and getting people to take that action from there instead of like what you're saying, the scarcity and the guilt and the shame. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so I can't tell you how many trainings I've been in where it's like, you actually need to create some scarcity. It's okay that they feel their pain. It's okay. And it's like, yeah, to a certain extent, you want to wake people up a little. You want people to like be like, oh, stand up to attention. But using fear and shame, I feel like are levers that get pulled on quite a bit when it comes to marketing. And I think there's something different that other people can, maybe not everybody's going to respond to it, and that's okay, but the enticement, right? There's something about honoring, respecting, and enticing that is really different than, you know, creating a false narrative of only one day left and, or, a false sense of urgency. I'm like, oh my gosh, my whole life is a false sense of urgency, right? Like between the kids and, there's so many things that are like, buy one, get one free, sale ends before midnight. Like I feel like there's so much false sense of urgency that is in my life already. I don't want to contribute to that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And creating ethical urgency is what I like to say.
yes,
And then also being able to, like, you can still talk about pain points. It's just,
of course.
it's just like a different approach. And the coaches all know this. Like, we need to dig into what is uncomfortable because that's where the
Yes,
transformation is going to happen. It's just
agreed.
the way that we talk about it can either create guilt and
Yes,
fear, or it can really create that hope, like, oh my gosh, I can do that. That can be me.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so it is definitely different. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up here. Oh no, sorry, two more questions, but this is
Oh gosh,
really quick.
sorry, I'm so
Okay, so
long-winded. I'll dial
no,
it
it's
back.
okay. This one is what made you want, okay, so I'm gonna say I reworded this question. It used to be what made you want to finally pull the trigger and work with me, but I don't like
Yeah.
that. Thing.
Yeah.
So
You're
I'm
like, I'm
tweaking it.
copywriting the
I'm
copywriting.
copywriting this, okay? What? A little too violent for me. What made you
Yes.
finally hit the ground running to start working with me?
I don't know, you spoke my language around that deep respect and not using shame and scarcity as a lever. And I think I connected with you so much on the teacher level. It was clear to me that you're a strong teacher and that you could strongly teach me. And I just needed it. I knew for a long, long time, I knew for many years that I needed copyright help. I knew I was a strong writer, but I knew I could do something different with that marketing lens. And I just, like I said, that Venn diagram of effectiveness, respect, value, I didn't know that anyone lived in the epicenter of that. I could only find the resources that had two of those three qualities. And so the fact that so yeah, I was just so easily picking up what you were putting down. So I knew it was and I knew I had been sitting on it for years and years and I needed to actually take action.
Yeah. Okay. And this is also a shout out to Eileen Garev Klung, who
Yes.
connected us together. She is one of my tech collaborators. She does all the wonderful and amazing email tech side that I am not a specialist in. And there's a lot there, and she is awesome and amazing. So just want to give a shout out to
Yes.
her
Yeah,
for
definitely. And I will say when Eileen first recommended you, I was like, oh gosh, another coach referral. And then I met you and I was like, oh, okay, she was right. She was right.
Yay. Okay. So what would you say to someone who is watching, listening, reading this right now and they're thinking of working with me?
I would say if you are motivated to learn and you want to, that whole you can teach someone to fish and feed them for a lifetime. If you're willing to learn how to fish, you got a great teacher and with Joanne, and Joanne will teach you how to do that beyond what your immediate needs are. So I'd say go for it.
Thank you.
Mm,
Thank you so much, Allison. This has been such a
thank you.
fun conversation. I always love
It
having
really
conversations
is.
with you. So I knew it was going to be
Likewise.
fun, but I really appreciate the time you've taken to talk to me, but also to share your experience so other listeners can hear. And if they are really interested, giving them a picture into what it's like to work with me and the results that you got. So thank you again, Allison.
You are very, very welcome, Joanne.